Hi there, Louise here from Louise Ellen Nutrition. Thank you for joining me today for this training session on 3 limiting beliefs that may be stopping you from losing those extra kilos, having more energy, or creating healthier habits. So, if you're wanting to lose those extra kilos and keep them off for the long term, have more energy, feel happier, or just want to lead a healthier lifestyle, this training is for you. During this training, you'll learn 3 limiting beliefs that may be stopping you from losing those extra kilos and keeping them off, and also leading a life that you love. It's so important. So I run an evening and weekend clinic in Darwin and right here, and online for those interstate. And I specifically work with individuals to create healthy habits in a way that is simple and sustainable, so they can feel lighter and happier and more energized and empowered. Empowered is a big one. I believe that dieting, weighing food, and counting calories causes long-term weight issues, poor body image, low self-esteem, and self-destructive eating habits, especially for mums and women in their 50s. Unfortunately, we just were not properly educated in the basics of nutrition at school or at home because, well, nor were our parents. We learned that we learned the eating and diet habits from our mums, which weren't necessarily healthy. Plus, society thinks that restricting yourself, going without, feeling hungry, and forcing yourself to go through mental anguish by way of a diet is the only way to lose weight. It's not the case. If we instead focused on creating healthier habits instead of dieting, we can lose those extra kilos and keep them off for the long term, have more energy, feel happier and empowered. Living our lives this way also will impact those around us, our friends, our family, our colleagues, our children, and it contributes to the reduction in the current obesity epidemic. I'm not sure if you're aware, but 65% of individuals or of this population are obese or overweight. 10% of individuals only get 5 serves of veggies a day. And 50% of individuals only eat 50% of the 2 fruit intake. So like 1 piece of fruit, but 2 is recommended. And the rise in diet-related conditions and illnesses such as diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, high cholesterol and gluten intolerance, all of those things, which will ultimately make a better place for our world, for our children and grandchildren to grow up in. So imagine if your mum shared with you the fundamentals of nutrition, explained to you why healthy food was important, shared with you how to prepare delicious, healthy meals, taught you about serving sizes, how much to eat of what food groups, and how to, in terms of maintaining a healthy waistline and what those unhealthy foods actually do to your body. Where would you be right now if your mum shared that with you? So imagine if you could do this for your children or for your grandchildren. How would this impact their lives for the better and those around them? So I'm really passionate about this because I believe that we can just make massive change by changing our diets, which influences our children's, our grandchildren's, those around us. It can have a huge impact, and I really believe that we can make massive change on a large scale just by learning how to eat healthier. So to help you get started, I want to share with you 3 beliefs that may be stopping you from getting started on your journey to losing those extra kilos and leading a life you love. So let's talk about the first one. The first limiting belief is, I'm not motivated enough. So do you struggle with finding the motivation to make change? Changes that deep down you really want to make so you can feel happier, healthier, and lighter? I hear you. I often hear clients say to me, I'm just not motivated enough, and I struggle with having the willpower, or I'm just too lazy. And when they say that, I know that they're at a point where they've given up, but all is not lost. So Are you really not motivated, lacking in willpower, or lazy? I don't believe so. I believe the main reason why we don't make change is because we're thinking it's going to be too hard. If you believe something is too hard, you won't want to take another step forward because it's too hard. Even just thinking about, how too hard makes you feel, it just stops you dead in your tracks because too hard means it's not possible for you. It's going to result in pain, and our brains are just not wired to want pain. Who would have thought? We're wired to run away from pain, avoid pain, and move towards pleasure, which is why it's easy to go back to your old habits because you're starting to feel as if the new changes you're putting in place are causing you pain. And it's no wonder we don't start something that deep down we really want to do. So when it comes to losing weight or changing your eating habits, you may think that you'll be restricted. It'll be time consuming, or you'll have to eat bland, boring foods, aka it's too hard. And this may be true if you were going on a diet, but it's not true if you're simply creating healthier habits. When we create healthier habits, we start by making one change at a time, or tweaking what you're already doing, or introducing something new that's simple to put in place. And by doing this, we make the change process simple and easy because we're breaking the steps down into smaller chunks so it's more manageable and simpler to implement into your busy lifestyle, because we all lead busy lifestyles. And, putting in a whole heap of recommendations in one go, this is not going to happen. So next time you think to yourself, oh, I'm just not motivated, remind yourself that you are instead believing something is hard because you may be wanting to do it all at once, and instead break it down into bite-sized chunks and implement one thing at a time. A new belief that you can start telling yourself is, you could say something like, motivation has nothing to do with it. When I implement one thing at a time, this makes what I'm trying to achieve easy. Cool. So that's the first limiting belief. The second limiting belief is, I struggle with being consistent and staying on track. I hear this all the time. So if you struggle with being consistent and eventually fall off the wagon and revert back to square one, you are not alone. This is totally normal. Talking too fast. There is a misconception out there that in order to lead a healthier lifestyle, we must be consistent and never falter. Otherwise, we have failed. But this perception in itself sets us up to fail and is simply not true. This perception comes from dieting, where in order to lose weight, you must diet consistently for a certain period of time and not falter in order to lose weight. When you try anything new, you are never consistent at it because it's new and it's foreign to you and it takes time to master it. Just like riding a bike, you fell off and got back on numerous times until you mastered the art of balance. Imagine if your dad or your mum didn't keep telling you, just keep getting back on that bike, keep going. Excuse me. Same as walking. Imagine if your parents went, oh look, she's fallen over, oh well, she'll never walk. Of course, you've got to keep trying and trying and trying and correcting and working out what's working, what's not working. So it's the same for leading a healthier lifestyle. You're learning to go from having unhealthy habits to healthier habits. And this is not something that can be done overnight because these unhealthy habits come with emotional ties. They come with cravings and addictions, which causes us to fall off the wagon because if we cut them out entirely, we desperately want them back. But when we wean ourselves off them, it's a different story altogether. So, but what makes the transition easier is by looking at, why have you fallen off the wagon? What can you put in place next time to prevent or reduce the occurrence of it happening? And then you dust yourself off and start again. So the more you do this, the easier it will become and the less you'll fall off the wagon because you're putting new things and learnings in place to close that gap. So next time you fall off the wagon, don't beat yourself up about it. Look at the reasons why this happened. What was it? Because you didn't prepare beforehand? Your expectations could have been too high. You were doing too much at once. Whatever it is, just acknowledge that that's okay. Then look at what changes and tweaks you can make to prevent this from happening again in the future. And then, as I said, dust yourself off and start again. You never fail. Just know that. You only learn what to do differently next time. So I think we all often think that, like at school, if you get an F on something, oh my God, the world is over. Oh, you failed at that, which means that you'll never be good at it. And, it's so funny. Like, there's so many things that happen to us in life, but when it comes to school, if we fail, so I think that's where we get this fail thing from. Like, it's bad if you fail. You've been bad, or you've got an F stamp on your report card and your parents are going to get told. There's all this stuff about failing, but you never fail. It's about reshaping that word too and seeing that word differently. You only learn from what to do differently next time. Cool. So that was limiting belief number 2. Number 3 is I have to overhaul my entire diet to lose weight. So when it comes to changing your eating habits, do you feel as if you have to overhaul your entire diet and start from scratch in order to lose those extra kilos? You may get rid of all the junk food in the house, buy all those new healthy ingredients, God knows what they're for, but we'll buy them anyway. Follow a set, rigid meal plan and make a bunch of new recipes, and you're like, right, I'm all good, I'm going to do this. But then you eventually run out of steam because it all gets a bit too much. And if this happens to you, you're not alone. A lot of individuals experience this. Often when you get inspired and driven to make change, you want to change right now. And it seems logical to do a big overhaul. But when you do this, you're taking on too much change at once and it's not sustainable long term. So let's take dieting as an example. You get inspired by a new 30-day diet, to lose 5 kilos, which is a cookie cutter approach because, cookie cutters will always work, not. And in the beginning, it seems great and you have all the shakes and pills and recipes and ingredients ready to go. And you're like, I can do this. And then a week in, you're starting to get cravings for your favorite foods. And you're starting to feel like, I really want them, but I can't have them. And you're feeling hungry because you've restricted your portion sizes down too much. And, because that's the best way to lose weight, I suppose. And, not true, by the way. And you're beginning to find the diet a lot harder than you realised. And eventually you run out of steam because your old habits become more appealing than what inspired and drove you to go on the diet in the first place. Again, this is totally normal. And I think the problem is that we often think that we aren't, we can't be consistent and we can't stay on track. So we must be lazy. We don't have willpower. Not the case at all. Unfortunately, diets like that, like restricting you in any way, is going to set anyone up to fail. Just know that. So instead, a more sustainable approach is to introduce one new change at a time. So when you maintain this one simple change and do it on a regular basis, it becomes a habit and creates noticeable change. So small changes over a period of time accumulate like compound interest. So imagine if you made one change per month. That could be 12 change. I was going to 12. That's 5. It could be 12. I can't even get my fingers to work. So one change per month is 12 changes a year. What if you did one change or one tweak per fortnight? That's 26 changes a year. Imagine where you would be if you had 26 new things in place, tweaks and changes and little habits put in place, just one at a time, rather than pushing yourself to do all of them at once. So, this approach is far more effective than going all in because it's sustainable long term. So, next time you get all inspired to make massive change, remind yourself long term sustainable change comes from making change over a period of time versus all at once. So, now you know what limiting beliefs may have been stopping you from losing those extra kilos and keeping them off for the long term, especially in the past. And then now you know what you can do to reshape these and look at them from a different perspective as well. So now it's about looking at what tweaks and changes you can now make to your diet and lifestyle. But rather than going away and making a bunch of changes and tweaks to your diet and hoping for the best, what if you had a personalized diet and lifestyle plan put together that includes a list of recommendations specific to your needs, your tastes, habits, and how you live your lifestyle? A plan that clearly lays out exactly what tweaks and changes to make to help you get from where you're at right now to where you want to be, plus the support and accountability to help you implement it. So, as an example, Kiara came to see me for an appointment, and she was trying to lose the extra weight, but she couldn't seem to get it off. And she tried, a few diets and things in the past, but she'd always put the weight back on, which is always the case. So this time she wanted something that was sustainable for her. So during our session together, I did an analysis of her diet, habits, and lifestyle. And together we came up with a bunch of recommendations that were easy for her to put in place and help her manage her food intolerance that she had as well. So Kiara found that the plan that we put in place put her back on track, and she found the plan so easy and simple to follow, which is the best way. I've created numerous personalized diet and lifestyle plans for individuals, and the feedback I receive time and time again is that they really appreciate that they're tailored to their lifestyle rather than being told what to eat and what to buy and actions and things that they just can't do. There's nothing worse than getting a plan put together and you go, I don't even know what these ingredients are, or what's the point in buying a jar of this when I'm only going to make it once, or there's things where you're like, I don't have time to make a recipe that contains 20 ingredients. So the plans that I put together are very simple and easy, and I always look at your diet and how you do your lifestyle, and we make tweaks according to that, which I find is just so much easier. So the plan itself is simple to follow and has a big impact on their waistline and health. So if you'd like to find out what specific tweaks and changes you can make to lose those extra kilos and keep them off for the long term, I invite you to schedule in a 30-minute healthy habits session with me. During the session, we look at where you're at right now, where you want to be, and what steps we can put in place to help you achieve this. And this is all done via phone, by the way, as well, so you don't have to fly to Darwin. When you know exactly what tweaks and changes that you specifically need to make to ensure you're on track with your weight loss goals, you have that peace of mind that you're following the right path to get you to where you want to be. Plus, we all lead busy lifestyles, and rather than wasting time trying to work it out by Google or asking friends, getting advice from a qualified source is always beneficial. And please know that there's no obligation whatsoever to take the next step with me after this session. I just wanted to offer you the opportunity. So, as so often, we want to make change, but we get stuck on exactly where to start, and we don't know really how to get those results. So getting some guidance from a qualified source can be really helpful. And even if you just took away one thing from this session that would make a difference to your waistline, energy levels, or eating habits, wouldn't it be worth your time? So if you're interested in scheduling in your free 30-minute Healthy Habits session, click on the button below. I hope you enjoyed this training.